Well, we got to remember when the process occurs, everybody is going to be turned into fully conscious beings, and that means that the aging process, which there's a thing that over the last 20 years, geneticists have discovered. It's called epigenetics, which simply means epi means higher or above. What they've discovered is there's actually within the genetic code this epigenetic overlord code, which basically tells the sequencing within the RNA and DNA what to turn on, what to turn off. So, and it's based upon stress, past lives, etc. So, aging is one of the master switches within this epigenetics, because actually there's no part of our body that's over 5-6 years old. There are some parts of our body that even every 2 years, every 3 years are completely changed. So why is it if we have new cells born all the time, why are we aging? Because there's an epigenetic program in us that sequences us into an aging process. So really, once you become fully conscious, you switch out that epigenetics, you put in a new epigenetics that says you have capabilities to live at your maximum energies so you don't age. So people who are old right now, when this switch happens, they'll go back to being the maximum age, which is being between 17 and 25, depending on the genetics of the individual.
Wow, wow. Now I got to ask then, one of the biggest concerns for lots of people, the Illuminati, the wealthy people, all these people that like to think they run the show on our planet, they're concerned about overpopulation. What about all that part?
Well, what we have to understand is the basic thing, they're not so worried about overpopulation. They're worried about mass awareness. This is the one thing that they are massively in fear of, is that we will be aware of what they are doing and aware of what we can do. So they need to keep us in fear. And so if disease and famine and all that stuff will help with the process, they'll be more than happy to provide it, because they want us to be looked at from an outer viewpoint and not from an inner viewpoint. And when we get into our inner viewpoint, we become aware, we become conscious of what's going on, we become beings that can no longer be manipulated, beings instead that demand instead of just ask what you want. So this is what they're really worried about. So they may use disease or other things and give all excuses about wanting to depopulate the planet and everything. What they really want are docile beings. They don't care how many billion of them is or how many millions there are. They just want docile beings. So when we stop being that, then they look upon us as a massive threat. So that's what's really happening here. They are very much afraid of the fact that we are becoming aware, and because of that, we are on the verge of causing a great switch. This is what I like to call the quiet revolution, which I've been talking about. It's a revolution in consciousness, which changes the awareness of who and what we are, not just on a couple of people, but globally. And this is one of the things that has been happening on this planet. One of the consciousness and awakening results is that people cease to be able in any way to be people that are manipulated easily. They become people that can't be manipulated. And as a result of that, it's very important for people to understand that one of the things that is causing all kinds of problems among these controllers, which is really more what we should really call them, these controllers are now seeing their control slip from them, because what is happening now is they are finding out that their abilities to continue control are not able to be as much as before. So we have a group which is called the Earth Allies, and I'm just going to keep this simple, and so if it seems like I'm floating around from one term to another,
I'm following you.
The Earth Allies basically are a group of enlightened beings that have had power and wealth, etc., and want to work towards creating a society, a world, in which this manipulation is over, and the result is that we have a society based upon awareness and not a society based upon manipulation, a society based upon love and cooperation, not one based upon fear and attempting to control people. So this is basically what is happening right now, and the group that is to cause this change and get rid of the controllers, or so I say transform from a world of controllers into a world of carers and supporters and a world of wealth, of abundance, as some people like to call it, is now on the verge of happening. So what we have to see now is that there is a quiet revolution happening on this planet, and this is very close to happening. result of all of this is that they will then be able to end these cover-ups about the UFOs, because one of the things that all these people that are working for this change have discovered is that we are not alone, that there are people out there in the universe, the Galactic Federation of Light, for instance, and that this group wants to help them and help this planet to achieve its full abilities, which is to return itself to being fully conscious beings.
Nice. Now, okay, let's go there. And I want to go there because, at any given moment, you and I know that any civilizations out there, if they want to, they could blow up this planet and it's all over. So we know that, the people that supposedly run the show on this planet, do they really run the show? Well, that answers it. Well, say we're one of these people, one of these guys, this person that runs the show on this planet, and we already know that it's going to get out of hand, and they're not. It's not going to be like it's going to get out of hand in a wild way, but there's no longer going to be control, manipulate the masses. What can these people do for themselves? They're in wealthy positions. They have all this stuff. What can they do for themselves? What should they do for themselves to allow this for themselves to make this transference as easy as possible even for themselves and not just for the masses?
Well, for themselves, what they have to realize is that the period that many of them grew up in, and they're now older people that have been doing this for a majority of their life, is to learn to just shift it and become people of light instead of people of darkness. And this has been very difficult for most of them. They would not willing to accept it. They're very arrogant. So basically what is happening is it's becoming a position which is now very close to happening where they will just have to let go. And that's very close, as I said, to happening. And once that happens, this planet becomes a wholly different place, because then the group that has been holding us back for centuries and really for millennia will then be out of the picture. And the amount of change, the amount of growth, the amount of love on this planet is unbelievable. It's off the charts. And so what is going to happen here is a vast explosion of this love, and which will lead to an incredible creativity, will just transform this planet, to use the Bible's thing, in the twinkle of an eye.
Nice. And so when you're saying these people should let go, they should let go of the wealth, they should get their lifestyles. What do you mean by that? And what steps can they take? They're wealthy people, and if you put yourselves in their shoes, they've accumulated all this material wealth. What can they do to make this life easier on themselves so that they can make the transfers in a much better way?
Well, what they're doing is trying to maintain the fear, maintain the control. What we have to realize, there's a vast abundance on this planet ready to be sprinkled among every person on this planet. And so what we have to convince these people of, or just force them to be convinced of it, is that there's enough abundance to go around so many times as to be ridiculous. We're going away from wealth, and this is where the controllers are upset, because one of the ways they control people is through the amount of wealth people are allowed to have, to end all of that. So actually, mutual abundance leads to the end of control. So they just have to let the abundance be, let it happen, and there are groups right now that are forcing them to let it happen. And when all that happens, the amount of abundance, the amount of love, the amount of care for each person on this planet is going to change this planet, because a lot of people are in a survival mode. They have fears, they have pains within them. Once this fear and pain can be released properly by special programs that can allow them to look at what they're doing in a way that can let them go and transform it, then you have a planet that is full of love. And beside that, which is the most important element here, is not only are we transforming in that way, but we're transforming ourselves from limited conscious to fully conscious beings.